All right, so let me talk to you about the ways you can go on offline trips and not get penalized, or rather, not lose your driver score and your acceptance rate. Now, in the past, we've spoken about how to keep your driver score high. We have also gone ahead to talk about how to keep your acceptance rate high, right? Because when your driver score drops, there is a penalty for that. Sometimes you even get suspended. When your acceptance rate also drops, there is also a penalty for that. Apparently, not a lot of people know this, but I guess if you've ever experienced it, you would know what I'm talking about. But there's also a penalty for that. They don't warn you or something, but no, they actually do, but just not as serious as when your driver's score falls. However, if we're talking about the offline trips, we know that the offline trips helps us to avoid the commission payment. Now, paying commission, I have nothing against it personally. I just feel like some days, eh, be a little bad or something. I don't know what reason to give, but to hell with my reason, man. Who cares? But the thing is this, okay? If you want to go on an offline trip, first and foremost, don't be sneaky about it. Just fucking ask. Okay? Apparently, some people, what they do is that they try to feign this situation wherein their phones are not, it's not working properly or something like that. And then they have to go offline. The data is not working, the internet is down, blah, blah, blah. So many stories around it, and they have to go offline. And then most of the time, the customers would just be like, yeah, yeah, okay, no problem. Let's go offline since your phone doesn't want to start the trip. That's one. Some other people just literally go offline subtly, right? I heard of this one guy. His story is quite funny because he went offline. Now, he wasn't the one who told me the story. The customer told me the story. I understood what the guy did, like the driver, but I don't think the customer even understood. The customer said they had actually come for marketing, so it was the company who was paying for it, and the company paid by card, right? So this dude picked them up and didn't start the trip. He drove all the way. It was a long trip, by the way. He drove all the way to the location for which he's supposed to get something around 4,000, if I'm not mistaken. 4,000, and only to get there. And, according to him, he was like, the driver was now like, oh my God, I forgot to start the trip. How much is it on the app? And they were like, no, it's a card payment. And he went fucking berserk. You can imagine. Because clearly that was his own trick of getting offline trips, right? He'll go and then tell you he actually forgot to get it started, right? So simply pay him the same thing because he did offer the service. That's a bit tricky and risky at the same time, right? Although I think it's a bit more clearer now because both now shows you if it's a car trip or a cash trip. But my opinion on it is if you want to go offline, ask them. They Most of the customer will actually say okay. Most of them are actually okay with it. They don't really care. It's just get me to where I need to go and that's it. All right. Some of them, of course, try to act cocky about it, like because the thing about the offline trip is if you're going to go offline, don't alter the price. Yeah, let them still pay the same thing that they were supposed to pay had it been an online trip. Don't go offline and start bargaining with them. I don't know, sometimes the bargaining thing is just, it's rubbish. Some of them get really uncomfortable. Some customers, I mean, get really uncomfortable, especially when they know they have like a dozen other options. So why do they have to go with you. If you want to bargain and all that, just end the trip. Let me come down and get somebody else who is not going to do all that. So my take is ask them. Yeah, ask them and just go be like, yo, is it okay if I go offline? And most of them will be like, yeah, okay. Except usually towards the night time, they don't like it. Some of them feel uncomfortable, especially the ladies. They feel uncomfortable if you say go offline. Yeah. So for very obvious reason, everybody's afraid. So yeah, they don't feel very comfortable if it's a night trip. But yeah, I would highly suggest that instead of employing tricks and methods, sneaky methods to go offline, just ask. Okay? Most of the time, you actually get what you want. Now, about going offline and still retaining your driver score and acceptance rate. Now, here's the thing, for every trip that you decline, your acceptance rate is dropping, especially if that trip is within your radius. If the trip is not within your radius, you're going to see a notification from both saying that, yeah, if you decline this, it's not going to affect your driver score, your acceptance rate. You're going to see that notification. If that notification does not come, that means it will most definitely affect your acceptance rate if you decline that trip. Now, however, if you accept it, if you accept the trip, and then go ahead and follow one of the methods we talked about how to keep your acceptance rate high, wherein you accept it, you click on the Arrive Now button, and then you later decline it, or rather cancel it, saying that the client asked you to cancel, you are only going to save your acceptance rate. Your driver score will still fall. Please, if you don't get that, rewind it and watch it again. Okay? Your driver score will stay any trip that you accept and do not complete. And another bigger problem is this. Whether it was cancelled by you or the customer, it still affects your driver score. Although I would think of that as a flaw from the boat company themselves, because a cancellation coming from the customer you shouldn't be penalized for it. Okay? However, now talking about the trick to keeping your driver score and your acceptance rate still high and still going on an offline trip. It's simple. After you've accepted the trip, if you want to go on the trip, accepted it, and then start the trip. Start the trip and just drive for like a minute or two and end it. Make sure make sure you don't drive for too long, otherwise you're going to be charged a higher commission rate. Right? So the idea of ending it maybe for just like after a short distance or a short drive is so that the amount that is going to be charged for that trip is going to be the minimum amount, which is usually not less than 500. And if the person has a discount, all the better. The discount actually works in your favor. But always start the trip. Go a short distance, then end it. If you end it and a price doesn't come up, that means you did not drive long enough before you ended it. The idea is to make sure you drive long enough so that when you end it, a price tag always comes up. Because if, let's say, you accepted a trip and then you just moved for like I don't know, maybe 5 seconds, and then you ended it, no price tag will come up. That means that trip was not counted as something you completed, and that is going to affect your driver's score. Accept it, move for a short distance, end it. Look at your driver score, look at your acceptance rate, you realize that nothing dropped. That is one very effective way. Now, while you are doing all of this short driving, this is when you just be asking the customer, yo, can I go offline? And then the person will be like, yeah, no problem. And then at that point, you are now like canceling it, and then it shows like, yeah, the customer is to pay you 500, and you get it just kind of like syncs very perfectly. And then by the time you end it, what you are going to be owing to both, I believe, is 20% of 500, or is it 15%? I don't know how much percentage both takes for their commission. So it's going to reduce immensely the amount you're going to need to pay to them by the end of the day. For instance, if I were to take a trip now, a long trip that would have cost 3,000, let me use 20% as the calculation for both commission. I think it's 15%. I'm not just too sure, but let me use 20%. If you're going to pay 20% of 3,000 is 600, right? But if you use this method, all you're paying is 100 naira. Do you understand? You will still get the 3,000 from your client or your customer. So you have saved yourself a whole lot in commission, and then you have actually gained complete amount, and you have saved your driver score and your acceptance rate. Yeah, this is a not okay. Let me tell you another method with which you can go offline and still retain your driver score and your acceptance rate. So I'm giving you two methods. In case one doesn't work out well for you, use the other one, right? These things change. I don't know, both updates it or something, I don't know. The second one is this. As soon as you arrive, you slide the arrive now button to the exact point, right? You slide it after it counts past 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, try to cancel it. You will find that the option of cancellation, one of it is the client did not show up. If you cancel with that reason, it doesn't affect your acceptance rate or your driver score. But you only have to wait for 3 minutes. So that means, in fact, this method basically saves you 100% in the commission payment, because you don't have to drive even for a minute or something. The only problem with this method is that most of the time, if you come to pick up a customer, you probably wouldn't have to wait 3 minutes if the customer is already ready. Okay? So in that case, you definitely have to drive at least for the shortest possible distance before canceling. It will cost you definitely something. Sometimes it doesn't cost you anything, especially if the customer has a discount. So, the commission payment will just cancel out along with their promotional whatever. So, the second method again is, as you come, you slide the arrive now button, and then after 3 minutes, if you even try to press it before 3 minutes, if you try to cancel and use that as a reason before 3 minutes, they will tell you to wait for 3 minutes, right? And then if you actually use that, the clients did not show up, it's not going to affect your driver score or your acceptance rate. Okay? So, yeah, I think I've dealt with this now. I hope you do get what we're talking about. All right, so that's one of the easiest way to effectively go offline and still, well, not get suspended, things like that. All right. So again, like I said, if you use this method, okay, I didn't say this before. I thought it. If you use this method and you still get flagged, that means it's just not working for you. Don't push it. All right. Don't keep going until you get banned or something. Just do the normal boat thing, man. All right. It's not like you're losing so much if you do pay commission. But this is just some of the methods that I know, and it works for me. That's why I'm talking about it. All right. So, yeah. Bye bye.